First, by show of hands, can anyone say that they know what it's like or they have ever prepared a homemade, from scratch, giant pot of soup for 150 homeless people? Or maybe have gone downtown and given out hygiene products of all sorts to women, children, anyone that says, hey, I need a washcloth, I need a toothbrush. Or my favorite, has anyone ever been down on the coldest night of the year in February and found a mentally ill person and provided them with a jacket or a blanket or a hat or gloves? Well, I'd actually like all of you to be able to raise your hand right now because of the donation that you guys have made to our small grassroots organization. I can assure you every one of you can say that. We've been doing this 8.5, 9 years. You know, it started, my first brush with homelessness in the 80s, I had a checkered past, we'll just say. And I became homeless, lost everything I had. And I found out what it was like to not be able to afford a glass of water. You know, I bet you there's no one in this room that can tell you what a glass of water costs when it comes out of your faucet. But do you know what it will cost a homeless person for a glass of water? About $1. When you get that far down, let me tell you. So fast forward, working in a body shop, I got saved. And it started a Bible study. The pastor named Mark Allen, who's an amazing man, came to our house, started teaching the Bible study, started learning about God. Learned about the story of the Good Shepherd, where Jesus said he was more worried about the one that was lost than the 99 that are found. So, and this got my mind to thinking, and as I looked across the table there, and a gentleman, a friend of mine, who was sitting there with his monogram Bible, he said, "What you looking at? What you looking at?" And so we then finally what sent me on my journey was I heard the saying, someone to build their ministry in the confines of a church. Not me, I want to build mine at the gates of hell. And I'm telling you what, if you know me, you know I'm a hands-on kind of guy. I can do anything with my hands. My grandfather never taught me I couldn't do anything. His famous saying was, I've done so much for so long with so little that I can now do anything with nothing. And I've lived my life like that. So I decided to cancel the Bible study, and then through the guidance of Matthew 25, verses 35 through 45, where Jesus said, his disciples asked, Father, when have we given you food? When did we see you naked and clothed? And he says, if you've done this for the least of mine, you've done this for me. Man, that was it. That's all. I was excited. I got down. I called this buddy of mine. I said, brother, are you sober? And he says, relatively. I said, well, good. Keep it that way because we're going downtown. And he says, what are we doing? I said, dude, we're going to find homeless people and feed them and pray with them and give them Bibles. Because we had stacks of Bibles left over from the Bible study. So we're driving around, and I'm sure you've helped people. I'm sure you know what it feels like to see someone who's really struggling, and help them out a little bit. Feels great. We're just down there having a great time, and it's just infectious, And I was like, wow, how can I ever sit my lazy butt on the couch on a Wednesday night ever again? This is engaging. There's 3 things we all must do to find fulfillment and happiness. We must create stuff. We must express ourselves. And more especially, we must help other people. It's just important to our being and who we are. But everything changed one February night. We got downtown, we're on Peachtree. There's this old guy. He's kind of slopping along. He had 2 bags. And I noticed that he had all these socks up, and he was wearing slippers, like hospital slippers. And he had a woman's jacket that came, like a little kid's jacket that came up to his sleeves. And my wife was making chicken and dumplings at the time, homemade dumplings from scratch. And I looked at the guy and said, hey, Bob, you hungry? Man, we got hot food and cold water and a couple of blankets. And all of a sudden, his shoulders went down, and he just plopped down on the ground and just started crying. I couldn't help it. I just put that thing in park, and Randy says, man, you can't park in the middle of Peachtree, man. I jumped out, and I just went over, and I said, what's going on, brother? And he said, man, I had a seizure. And when you have a seizure on the street, he rolled out of his little sleeping bag there, and the hospital came and got him. Thank goodness, right? But they don't say, hey, where's all his stuff? Is that his? So they took him to the hospital, and they healed him up, all right? But it had come time for him to go. It was the middle of February. And they did everything they could for him. They tried to engage him with, I'm certain, and I certainly wouldn't say anything bad about any hospital, just that they did everything they could. And here was this man, jacket from the lost and found department, 4 or 5 pairs of socks, they didn't have a pair of shoes. And man, when he's telling me the story, Randy comes up and looks at him and says, "What size shoe do you wear?" And he says, 11.5, 12. Randy looked me right in the eye, and he reached down and took his shoe off, and he says, "Try that on." This guy put it on, all of a sudden, he lifted his head up and smiled. He said, "It's warm, too." And I says, "Randy, you gonna give this man your shoes right here on Peachtree?" And he said, "You know what, Kipper, he needs them worse than me." Man, I'm gonna tell you what, it all changed right there. It changed. We were no longer just out, loving on people and praying with them and giving them Bibles and inspiring them with hope. It had really changed. That night when I got home to my mansion of a home, and I found out what it meant, that night truly did, what it meant to fall on my face in prayer. And I was just pleading with God, "Father, please help me help these people. Help me help what I've discovered, mostly mentally ill, they're the chronically homeless. How do you help the mentally ill?" And as I'm down just pleading with God, my wife sits up and says, "What are you doing?" It was pitch black dark, right? And I'm like sobbing and I'm praying. And I says, "I'm praying." And she could sense the tension in my voice. She got down next to me and we prayed that night. And I'm going to tell you, it changed. It changed for me. So I started reading, how can I, and I started reading books like Toxic Charity, about how sometimes church organizations and well-meaning individuals can disempower people and hurt them. This was the farthest thing that I would ever want to do. So how can I help people to do this? So then I started getting into motivational speaking and the power of positivity, and understanding, and a lot of people told me, "Son, what they need is salvation." It's true. We all need a connection with God. But you know what? When you get so far down that you can't afford a glass of water, sometimes you don't feel like anyone, especially God, would forgive you, can forgive you. Can't tell you how many times I've heard someone say, "You don't know what I've done. You don't know what I've done." So as it kept going on, I joined an organization called Toastmaster, and I went on in that and just did great in that and really enjoyed it, and I discovered how much I love public speaking. And fueled with my desire to help these people get off the streets, what we started doing was we paired with an organization called the Safe House, which is an organization, I bet some of you have heard of it. It's been around a long, long time. And we go out on the streets a couple of nights a month, get everyone to come to the Safe House. So please come up there. We'd like to talk to you. And what we'll do is we'll get in there, and the people at the Safe House like, "Man, they know you. They love you, man. What's up with that? What's the hot sauce man mean?" And people started asking me to bring some hot sauce. "Bring me something hot, man. Come on, I need something hot." And real hot sauce is expensive, not Texas Pete, stuff like that. So I started making it, growing peppers, and that turned into its own animal. And if I have time, I'll tell you the amazing poem written about me by a homeless woman under the Grady Bridge called The Hot Sauce Man. Guarantee you, made me cry for 2 years as I memorized it. And they like, "Wow, these people really know you." And I helped them. I said, "Look, this is the deal about feeding people." People told me, said, "Man, you really hurt people by feeding them, by just feeding them." Well, you know what? There's truth to that, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you just if you're continually feeding someone and they become dependent on you, that's true. But you got to remember, that's how Jesus did it, right? How do you build community? How do you build friendship, trust? This is important. You do it through listening, spending time, and eating with them. Sit down and eating. And I'm going to tell you, I make the very best soup possible. A few of my volunteers are on me like weekly. "We need a food truck. We need a restaurant." And I'm like, "Look, our focus is homeless people, not food. You want to look? I'll show you. I'll teach you. We'll do everything." My efforts on getting people off the street. So what I discovered later on, people tell me, "Kip, they need a job. Kip, they need a place to stay." And I came to realize that homelessness, unemployment is not the problem. That's a symptom of a much deeper problem. So many different roads lead to homelessness. Abandonment, abuse, drug and alcohol addiction, and the big ugly one, mental illness. People used to say, you need to leave this to the professionals. Aren't you glad Mother Teresa didn't leave it to the professionals? What about Jesus? He didn't leave it to the professionals. Man, he was kicking over tables. Wow, that, anyway, now, fast forward 8.5 years later, I've got countless videos of guys that say, man, you changed my life, bro. And my favorite saying on the street is, no, that's not me. I'm just some guy with really amazing hair. Your Father in heaven did that for you, brother. You did that. If you gave someone an executive position at Home Depot and said, here's the keys to the building. There's your company truck, man. As a matter of fact, we got you a hotel room. You set. There's not a homeless man alive or woman that hasn't ever had a job. We've all had jobs. We've all had houses, places to stay. They don't need a garage and a cot. They need to develop a sense of self. They need to have a sense of responsibility. I've developed a series of speeches called, the acronym is FAITH. Fulfillment, accountability, integrity, thankfulness, and helping people. And through this series of speeches, it allows me to talk to them about everything, really. Finding fulfillment is about stuff that these people have never heard of, like discovering your principles, your values, your gifts, your talents, and engaging your gifts and your talents. Staying in parallel with your principles. It's very simple to explain to someone when I say, if you go against your principles, you will not find fulfillment. You'll be so bugged and you can't explain it, but it's like if you're raised a Southern gentleman to hold the door for a lady, I don't care what part of life you are, when you start letting doors slam in ladies' faces, it weighs on you. Your principles are something you need to adhere to, and you need to understand, find your way to fulfillment. Through staying in your principles, using your values, your ever-changing values in life to determine the decisions you're going to take in life. Some of these guys are just like, nobody ever really told me that before. We have a full-time pastor that works for us, Mike Poole. He is the pastor at the R Ranch. I'm sure you've heard of the R Ranch. It's a 6,000-acre camper ranch place up in Delano. He drives an hour a couple times a week to come and teach the Word of God to these men and women. One time he says, Kip, I'm concerned that you're telling them to believe in themselves more than God. And he says, I know we're tying them back. And I said, preacher, look here, that's your deal, brother. That's why you're here. We're going to trust the power of the Holy Spirit. And I said, but sometimes when I try to engage someone, I say, man, I'd like to pray for you. I'd like to talk to you about my Father in heaven. That released me and everything. And instantly, a lot of folks, man, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in that. I said, okay. Guess what? The conversation's over. It's done. One night we were at the safe house, and this guy, the pastor said, this guy was complaining about something. The pastor said, can I pray for you? In his leg, something's wrong. Can I pray for you? He said, no, I don't believe in that, man. I don't believe in that. And that was it. And later on that evening, that guy stayed, and he stayed for an integrity speech. An integrity speech is a speech where I've developed, and I actually learned it through an organization called Landmark. But it's a speech to where understanding, if you want to be an everyday Joe out on the street, you don't need integrity, because the everyday Joe doesn't have it. But if you want to be an inordinate person, you want to have the confidence in yourself. This is a great way for you to make a decision. You know what? I'm just going to have an inordinate sense of integrity. I'm going to do the right thing every time. You've heard of positive affirmations, and they work great. And I've used them and continue to do. I do myself. They're very singular. I'm a good man. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. I'm a good Christian. I'm a good employee. They're very singular. The thing about integrity training is once you instill a sense of integrity in yourself, I'm going to do the right thing every time. I'm not going to lie to you. You know why? Because I'm a man of great integrity. Inordinate integrity. I love to get up there and say, who's got integrity? And everybody will say, I do, you know. That's really exciting to me. But the thing about this is, suddenly you see it in your subconscious because guess what? You start to believe, you know what? I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to tell you the truth. If I tell you I'm going to be there at 6, I'm going to be there at 6. And the importance of understanding that you're not going to be perfect. You're going to mess up. And when you do mess up, you ask forgiveness and you say, I'm sorry I'm out of integrity. Please forgive me and allow me to clean up any messes that I've caused. And these guys would come out and say, man, you know, dude, I restored integrity with my boss and he was very impressed with me. And I said, dude, I'm impressed with you. You've made a commitment. These little things that we take for granted, that aren't hammered home to us, people need to understand. Gifts and talents don't equal success. Character. This is it. Homeless people love to hear the phrase, your circumstances do not define you, but your thoughts do. Your thoughts become your character. And I'm sure you've heard this, and you know, the guy that ran the Buy Low supermarket, a lot of famous philosophers were credited for this, but I think it came from Buy Low supermarkets, where he said, guard your thoughts, because your thoughts become your words. Your words become your intentions. Your intentions become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your character. This is what we all need to understand. And I'm going to tell you what, when you sit down and have a sandwich with a man in Woodruff Park, and you start talking to him about character, if you just come on and you're just going to step up in there and start talking like that, you might get one to the nose, okay? But if you develop a relationship, if you're there all the time, and they're praying with him, pleading with him, say, man, brother, you were meant to thrive, not just survive. Trust me. If this is what you want, hey, I'm fine with it. Look, you've got freedom. You know, God gave you freedom to wander, do whatever you want. So who am I to take it away? But you know what? How's it going? Are you happy? Oh man, brother, you have the power. You're the reason. I mean, I could tell you stories and stories about people, and I'm just very grateful to you for the opportunity to come and speak to you about what we're doing. And I hope that you would go on our website. Eliza has signed on and started to help us really get our website finished up, and we're in the processes of getting it done. And there's a lot of things that you could do. I tell you what, there's nothing better than putting your shoulder into the wheel and coming downtown, putting your arms around someone and saying, man, I love you. And I'd like to get, if you're interested in getting more information, or if you're interested in being part of our team, we'd love to get your name and your email address. You can just come up here, or you can take one of our cards on your table and send us an email. Be happy to answer any questions for you. One thing I'd like to leave, go ahead.
No, that's okay.
One last thing I'll tell you, because I think I'm right on there, like 15 minutes right now, right? I'd like to leave you with the poem of the Hot Sauce Man that was written for us by a homeless woman. When she said, I wrote a poem for you, I was expecting roses are red and violets are blue. And when she told me this poem, I just could not stop crying. It went like this. It's 30 degrees and I'm down on my knees. Please let him come, Lord. I beg you, please. Out of the night, he pulled up with a smile. He says, come to my truck, let's talk a while. Wonderful soup is his language of love, with a warm piece of cornbread sent from above, and a special sauce that he makes like no one else can. That's why we call him the Hot Sauce Man. Beef, chicken, cabbage with beans. His soup is the best, if you know what I mean. And he serves the soup from a giant drum, and he keeps on serving as long as they come. When we thank him, he says, praise I do not deserve. You seek my Father, the one whom I serve. And as his truck disappears into the night, we thank our Father, for now we'll sleep tight. Bless him, O Father, as only you can. Thank you, Lord Jesus, and God bless the Hot Sauce Man. Thank you so much. Man, I could tell you stories about one time this little boy, and I'll just make it really quick. This lady named Donna, we're driving. She said, look, stop the truck. That little boy is homeless over there with his dad. I said, no, that little boy's not. Stop this truck in the name of Jesus. And I was like, oh. So I pulled over, man, and she just darted out across the street. And I'm like, Donna, save me, you're going to get killed. And she comes back, and she's got this man and this little boy in her hand. And the little boy's about 7. And her dad looking there, and he says, what do you got? What do you got to eat? I said, we got spaghetti and watermelon. He looked at his dad, and he said, my favorite. And I was like, oh, cool, man. Mine too, bro. And so he was sitting there, and all of a sudden he looked at me, he says, do you have anything I can wash my teeth? And he says, I need to wash my teeth. And I was like, Donna, would you get this young man a hygiene kit? She said, I sure will. She come around the truck, she had tears in her eyes, man. This guy sat down, and we pulled into this little guard tower. The guard tower dude goes, really? You're going to park right here in the middle of the thing? I said, dude, we'll be out here in 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. I'll call the police. This little boy sat down, opened up the hygiene kit. It went everywhere, and he took that toothbrush and started scrubbing his teeth like this. He could tell no one had really ever sat down and talked to this boy about how to brush his teeth. And he looked up at his daddy, and his dad smiled real big, and his dad had about 3 teeth out there, and that's no kid. And he forgot all about spaghetti and watermelon. You know, he was anxious and excited to have that toothbrush to wash his teeth. And I'm just telling you, you get involved in that, you're not going to be able to stop. Yes, sir.
When we stay at $200, $300 a night hotels,
Yes, sir.
if you'll save that toothpaste and that toothbrush
Yes.
and the shampoo and the soap, these people can use that.
It is so good because big things of, you know, when you're carrying everything you own on your back, you don't have room for a giant thing of shampoo. You see? You know, that's why those little travel kits, we do receive a lot of those donations. And there's a donation box. You can go to our website and see where our one donation box is. And we're looking for other churches to partner with us and allow us to put donation boxes in their things. And, you know, we're just looking to grow this thing. And God truly is the one that's making it happen.
Do you currently partner with hotels to get donations for that, or local CVBs or convention centers?
There's a couple that we deal with, like a Motel 8 over off Indian Trail over by my house that I've gone in and spoke to, and you know, he's given us like his leftover bedding and stuff like that, in which we have taken these giant bed sheets and not as sheets, I'm thinking comforters, and torn them and torn them down into, you know, people-sized things like that. But you know, he doesn't want to give us his new, you know what I'm saying, his new things, but
Yeah.
That's really what we're wanting to do, and it takes manpower to coordinate that and call these people and follow up with it.
Well, I can connect, because we work with all the hotels in the county, so we have 106 hotels in
That
Gwinnett.
would be amazing.
And then we also, as a Convention Visitors Bureau, every Christmas we do a drive, a nonprofit, and we don't have all of our hotels donate items.
I can't tell you what an amazing gift that would be. And to anyone that was just thinking about getting involved, you should come down the street. You should come down and see what we do. You should see someone when they're telling you, my life has been forever impacted from the time that you spent with me. Eliza's been helping us a short time. She has started to see, as a matter of fact, this week, she took a couple of photographs that just floored me. I was like, oh my gosh, what an amazing photographer. She's a professional. She was hearing some stories this week from these guys. This guy said, she just recorded this thing from him where he says, you know, I went to Pennsylvania, and you know what I was thinking about? I couldn't wait to get home. I was thinking about your suit, man. And he says, I'm telling you right now, you people have instilled hope in me. Dude, it just floored me. Hope is the fuel for growth. You start someone on the path to growth, you can't keep a human being down. But you do need to teach them the path of forgiveness, to love themselves, and growth. It was a big deal, and that was Tuesday night. We've actually changed to Tuesday because of the safe house. We need the safe house so we can get in there and spend a couple hours with them. And you know, we've actually changed some of the procedures at the safe house as a result of our service and the way we treat people. I said, you know, look, I want them to come in and sit down at a nice table with flowers and stuff. That's my objective. And they've done that. Anyway, so we changed it to Tuesday.
I've been to the safe house, but describe it for those who haven't.
It's a big facility at 89 at Ellis Street, it's not gigantic, but it's about, about right here to that corner, about this big. There's a little stage, there's a little, they call it a lunch counter. It doesn't even have a sink. So all the food is brought in by other ministries and things that provide food and so forth to the homeless people. They come in and they give them a little food and water, and they sit down and they give them a sermon, typically.
Okay.
We're the only organization that I know of that does all the different things that we do with clothing every week. Enormous, all the hygiene stuff you need. I mean, we lay it all out there and say, take all you want. I've seen guys go, I say, that's cool, you help yourself, bro. I said, you're good, take what you need, man. And he said, really? Well, I really only need about 4 razors. And I was like, this is for you, I don't care. And you know what he did? He took about 3 razors and he started putting all his stuff back. I said, look, if you need that stuff, come on, bro. But it was the way that he'd been treated, right? It's the way that the culture, he felt like he had to get what he could while he could. So the point I'm trying to make is that the guy that runs the safe house in Nolan English, he told me, he says, man, no one really has come in here. And if you watch our video, he talks about it on our website. He talks about how, he says, man, we have Chick-fil-A, we have Ritz-Carlton, and they do a great job, but the love component with Honor the Homeless is off the chain. And there again, that's not from Kiplynn Dobbs. That's from my father. It really is. And when you come down and you spend a little time, man, you will be fired up to contact places. I guarantee you, you'll be just like me. You're not going to be able to go back. Any other questions?
Any other questions, John? If not, well, thank you.
Thank you.